Hey everyone, Rushlock here, and we've got a post today from Rixx Javix called the Price Update Debate. No big surprise what this will be about, but before we get into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button at the bottom of the channel. At the time of this recording, we are 4 subscribers away from the 3,000 mark, and with your help, we can break that 3K mark, and it is very much appreciated. If you have thoughts and opinions of your own about this topic, be sure to share them in the comments down below, and smash that like button, all that YouTube shill stuff. Let's get into it. So Rick says, at this point, you have to be living on Mars not to have heard the news that CCP is increasing the subscription rate for EVE Online. This news hit the community like a meteor last week, and a lot of players went batshit crazy about it, which they do about twice a month these days, on average. So yes, it seems after 10 plus years of holding steady, EVE is finally getting more expensive, like everything else in our lives. So there's two things in this first one, and he's absolutely correct. The EVE player base, these nerds lose their minds every 2 weeks, nothing shocking. The difference this time is they're completely justified, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people still found a way to still be wrong, right? They're going to be posting and crying, well, I just can't take it anymore after years of nerfs and these faucets getting tightened for no reason, and I just can't, AFK plex my 40 accounts anymore. I hate it. Like, oh, screw those people. Who cares about them? They don't matter. But the ones who recognize, wait a minute, CCP increased their cost by a third and offered absolutely nothing in return, period. Now, it's a separate topic of Paragon talking like, hey, there's a big announcement at FanFest, and that's awesome. But in CCP's post about the price updates, nothing of any value was offered. Just, hey, we're increasing price in, I believe, less than a month. Yeah, less than a month. See you at FanFest. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, it was a terrible piece of communication. Let's see. The second thing that Rick says that I found interesting here was, this has been what I've been seeing debated a lot recently. A lot of people have been posting like, well, in 2014, they changed the Great Britain cost and this, that, and another. My understanding is that the price of EVE hasn't changed since 2004. And if countries have seen a price change, it's from the result of VATs and taxes and currency exchanges based on their own economic conditions of their country. I could easily be wrong on that. Like, it's not something I've watched that closely. It's just the impression that I'm under. But I understand where, from a consumer's perspective, that don't look into these things very often, they're just looking at a storefront going, click, click, wait, why is the price different than it used to be? And they don't really give more of a thought than that, than, oh, grr, CCP. But often it's governments governments that affect the taxes. I'm curious about, I've seen a lot of posts about the Australian exchange rate. They're saying they're paying close to 30 USD a month for an account. I don't know how much of that is a VAT tax from the government down there, because I know a lot of things getting imported into Australia get tariffed to oblivion. But keep that in mind when judging prices for different regions. Let's see, let's move on to the next one. I don't like this any more than you do, and I'm not going to tell you how you should feel about this, the news. That is totally up to you. I don't know your situation or how many accounts you have running. If $5 or more a month is too much for you to deal with, then don't deal with it. Please, real life is always more important than internet spaceships. And of course it is. If you need to scale back your accounts, do it. If you need to unsub for a while, do it. Take care of yourself first. That is always and forever going to be my first piece of advice, always. This is 100% on point. This is, in fact, I would argue, if this price change makes or breaks whether you can afford to play EVE or not, in my opinion, you couldn't afford to play EVE in the first place. That opinion and stance probably comes with a little bit of bias. I come from the financial background, working in credit unions and banks, both on the tower level, loan processing. Like, I've seen people's personal finance a lot, and people do a lot of dumb things they can't afford and play things way too close to a line. And if this price change moves you from being in the green to being in the red, you're already in a bad spot. And this is probably an unhealthy hobby for you in the first place, and you probably should either disengage or play alpha for a bit. And if you can't enjoy that, find something more in your means to enjoy. This isn't like a meme narrative I would do on stream where it's like, no pores and that kind of a thing. This is legitimate, real life things I've seen before, where people just let habitual things that they're used to doing, they don't want to let go of it, really negatively impact their real life finances. Let's see. Rixx goes on to say, I wrote a thread on Twitter yesterday in which I tried to explain my personal thoughts on the issue. I'll post the thread here so you non-Twitter people can read it. Couple of points regarding the recent price increase. A thread, first of all. Announcing before FanFest is the right decision. We can all provide feedback and hear their plans. This is good. I mean, it certainly isn't bad. Like, so what are the choices? They could have done this before FanFest, which they did. They could have done this at FanFest, which they chose not to do. And they could have done it after FanFest, which they explained they thought was cowardly, according to Paragon, and that wasn't an option for them. That was off the menu right off the bat. And partially, I agree. I don't think that doing it before FanFest, without offering any information, because keep in mind, the original post said nothing about announcement at FanFest at all. It was just price increase, deal with it, we're out. And it was Paragon coming in afterward, cleaning up the mess, going, all right, we can't tell you what the carrot is, but there is one coming. So that part I maybe 60-40 disagree with. Second, higher base sub costs mean more flexibility with discounts. This is basic retail strategy and one I've personally recommended to other businesses. I'd be shocked if multiple accounts are not heavily discounted. They've already said that it's a priority for them to do, according to Paragon. It should have already been in place when they made this announcement. It is absolutely indefensible that priority wasn't already finished before this announcement and before this takes effect. Now, maybe May 15th will hit and it'll already be in place. That's certainly possible. But if that's not the case and they haven't communicated that it is, then there's no defense for not having it in place and ready to go at the price change. It's just ridiculous. Third, inflation impacts all aspects of business. Employee salaries, benefits, insurance especially. That's a huge cost consideration. Not to mention energy use, rents, tech, all of which have grown exponentially. So it costing money to do business is not anything new. That's not shocking anybody. I'm actually surprised it took this long for any MMO to up its sub rate. EVE specifically has less flexibility than other MMOs to monetize different aspects of the game. So the actual price increase itself, to me at least, is not an issue. It doesn't make any sense to be upset about it. It just seems common sense economics. And what have other games and products done over the years? MTX, DLC, cash shops, which goes along with the MTX. And people got mad about them, but they don't realize, those people who got mad about it, don't realize that $15 a month was no longer enough. So they could have raised the sub rate, which I've been in games before, where I've been like, you know what? If I just got a sub rate for this game, I'd be way happier than paying, piecemeal for individual pieces of content. But they make far more money off of MTX anyways, so that's why you'll see that direction happen more often. But yeah, I can understand why any MMO would up its sub rate, but not doing so without also having a piece of content or something to be excited about to go package along with the announcement. Fourth, marketing costs have also risen exponentially over the past few years, especially. I'd like EVE to grow in certain CCP, I think it means to say I'm certain, CCP would also like that. It costs more to grow than it did. This is a fact. That is absolutely true from a very biased perspective. I can't fathom why it's taken CCP so long to give any attention to their Twitch directory. We've seen I guess I could say very lucrative. I don't know what the numbers are, but based on what I've seen other contracts or other companies doing similar promotions for, thousands and thousands of dollars have gone into bringing in Twitch streamers to broadcast EVE Online for a day, typically, sometimes two, but usually just a day, to draw attention to EVE Online via the Twitch platform. It's overall a very inefficient way of getting long-term growth out. It certainly spikes short-term numbers and gets like, hey, we spend X and we get Y new users. I've read that apparently the numbers we're seeing right now, industry-wise, like the averages for what you spend to get new clicks and new accounts, they're satisfactory with. So I'm glad that it's meeting their metrics for what they're trying to achieve, which is accrue new users, but it's done nearly absolutely nothing to increase or improve Twitch's visibility on the Twitch platform. So I agree, marketing would be great. I hope it's effective, and maybe some of this extra resource will get them to put more into growing their own presence on these platforms. Not just Twitch, but other platforms as well. And lastly, if you haven't noticed, everything is more expensive now. It's irrational to think a game that doesn't charge for expansions won't have to increase base prices. In fact, I'm surprised they didn't do this before now, frankly. And that part I agree with towards the end. The problem is the expansions part. What expansions? They abandoned the expansion model a long time ago. And they did so in favor of putting out smaller updates with content on a more frequent basis. The problem with that is updates kept coming, but content wasn't included. And this has been the case for about 3 years now. Nothing new has been released in EVE in multiple years. So that part gets a little holy on, not holy like virtuous, holy as like there's Swiss cheese explanation there. New content hasn't been a thing for EVE for a while now. EVE is a 20-year-old game, and CCP is also developing new stuff we look forward to seeing next week. Do you, though? You're looking forward to finding out what it is, but do we look forward to it? They deserve the benefit of the doubt, in my opinion. Hey, at least he said it was in his opinion. I couldn't disagree more. I haven't seen anything from EVE Online in, like we just said, several years. I hope that FanFest happens and they blow our socks off. This is not a position of, oh, gee, I can't wait and hope that they fail. It's that I've seen nothing before, I've seen nothing currently, and so it's really hard to see something or imagine something in the future delivering. And if this announcement at FanFest isn't putting new content on TQ within 3 months, it's a load of crap. 6 months? Maybe. Beyond 6 months, who cares? It's vaporware. It's just talk. It's all talk, no action. Screw it. No, what's the right word? Validation, I guess, from my opinion. I think that sums up my opinion on the issue. Next week is FanFest, and obviously we'll have a lot to talk about, discuss, debate, and also learn. You hope so. I'm more anxious now than I was before this announcement, frankly. Now CCP has something to prove, and this is exactly what we talked about before. This has put the expectations for FanFest through the roof. And if they don't deliver, it's going to be a bigger mess. And this is what we've had a big problem with CCP for years now, is the quality of communication. And this whole announcing a price hike and offering nothing for it is a perfect demonstration of the poor quality of communication from CCP over the last several years. This gathering was already important, as it represents our first time back together in Iceland in over 3 years, but now it has gained even more importance. I'll be extremely curious to hear what they have not only in the pipeline, but planned for the coming months. Should be interesting to say the least. And this is my concern. I think the majority of it's going to be over there, and little to nothing will be here. But that's just my view on it. Again, I cannot tell you how I hope to be wrong. I hope FanFest just absolutely knocks it out of the park, and I'm sure we'll have a video for when that happens as well. Until then, enjoy your time in FanFest, not just Rixx, but everyone who's going. Be safe, enjoy your time, and we'll see you on the other side of it.